What is going on? Today we're checking out 3 of the most common leader materials in pike fishing. We've got steel wire, fluorocarbon, and a third option I've never used before. Let's go check them out. Let's get fishing. So to summarize the pros and cons of steel wire, it's readily available, it's cheap, it's relatively thin, it's strong, and it works really well for pike fishing. The cons: very visible in the water, a lot of presence, and it is not kink resistant. It can wear down over time, especially with lures that have a lot of movement. So we're starting off on the wire on a relatively big shad. Now shads and baits that are kind of like just straight drawn and jigged, those in my opinion are some of the best baits for using or opting for using a wire. They're that kind of classic lure fishing, pike fishing option. But the more action I put into this lure, the more strain it puts on this wire, and the more potential I have for it to break. That is, to be honest, one of the biggest risks of using wire. I've lost quite a lot of lures recently, in fact, because I've started fishing jerkbaits again. And I used to fish jerkbaits a lot, but in hindsight, I used to fish jerkbaits almost exclusively on fluorocarbon. There are other pikes. Ah, man. Just did not get the hook points properly then. Pulled the thing through, gave himself a little slack and got off. After a hit like that where the fish very much felt the hook, it's unlikely for him to still be around, but not impossible. Sometimes they're more hungry than they are kind of spooked. First hit that we've seen though on the steel wire. This is definitely where we're catching a pike now. We're going to get one coming out from under the right side of these lily pads here. Maybe not. There. Is he still there? Is he still there? Wasn't expecting that quite so close in. Has he spooked? I think so. It's the second hit that we've missed now. Sometimes that can be down to your hook presentation, your positioning, and I think that's probably the case right now. Nice, he's digging hard. Not able to strip line. There he goes. Oh, wrapping himself around a bit of lily pad there. Let's get him clear. Get him in. First fish landed. Lovely little fish we've gotten out on the wire trace, on the steel wire. We're going to switch over to the fluorocarbon now and see if we can't catch more. So this is fluorocarbon, and to summarize its pros and cons, it's still reasonably cheap, it's near invisible in the water, and it puts up to a little bit more abuse from movement of the lure. It doesn't wear down so quickly. The cons: it is not pike proof. A well-placed tooth will result in you losing your bait and having a bite through the fluorocarbon. And on top of that, nearly every time you catch a fish, have a hit, or get snagged, you really need to be checking the health of your fluorocarbon. After every hit, every snag, every fish, you need to be checking the quality, the health of your leader, looking for any nicks, and you may need to retie. Because you are trying to negate the pike teeth, you need to use a really thick material. I'm using 1 mil here, and I've seen them go up to 1.2, 1.5 mil fluorocarbon for some of the big pike fishing they do in Scandinavia. It's not perfect, I wouldn't always recommend it, but to be honest, it has to be done with some jerkbait. Now, the first thing to mention with fluorocarbon is it is not pike proof. It is material that is kind of abrasion resistant, but it will not hold up indefinitely to the teeth of a predator like pike. Which is exactly the reason I'm using this lure and this material. So as I mentioned with steel wire, it doesn't respond well to the constant back and forth movement of some lures. So you'll find on something like a jerk bait or some of these swim and glide baits, you will actually end up weakening the trace material significantly, and you stand a good chance of losing fish. Now, because of the stiffness of fluorocarbon and the way that you typically rig them that kind of constant wear does not break down the leader material. So pro one is it does hold up better to a little bit of lure movement. Pro number two is that it is supposedly invisible in the water. Brilliant. Well guys, pike 2 came a little bit quicker, a little bit smaller, but it shows the benefits potentially of fluorocarbon, or probably more appropriately, the ability to use different baits. Other baits that I don't stand quite the chance of losing. Let's carry on, let's try that third material. And this is the third material. This is titanium. It is ridiculously strong. So I've never used titanium before. The benefits of it, and this is the biggest one, it is ludicrously strong. In line with the fluorocarbon, incredibly kink resistant and hold up to the wear of using baits with a lot of movement in them as well. I've stuck with that same glide bait, swim bait to test out that theory and take it as a pro or a con, just a feature of it. It is a single strand, very, very stiff metal. And as for the biggest con of this material is its cost. The 3 meter length I bought, per meter it's about 5 times more expensive than other materials. You kind of hope though that that is offset by the fact that the titanium should never rust, the titanium should never break down, the titanium should never kink. So assuming I don't lose it to the braid breaking, a single length of titanium should last a good while. It will be the end clips, crimps and swivels that'll probably break down first. That said, I've never used it before, so the whole idea that it should be resistant to using baits that are moving around a lot could be complete nonsense. But fishing with it for a while, I think we'll find that out. At this point I've had about 20-ish casts with this titanium wire, not necessarily all targeted, just trying to get used to the material. So far it seems to be holding up fairly well. That's a hit. That's a hit. Do we think he's still around? Let's go and find out. Nice long cast there. I'm going to go for a relatively fast, relatively hard jerked retrieve. And after those I'm going to check the health of my leader, of my trace. I could pull there, I could pull on the top end. Zero signs of wear on the leader material at all. Great stuff. Hopefully that'll give us the nice run that we need in front of that mess. That was a good fish then. Didn't quite have the hook up, didn't feel it come in, so I didn't strike hard. Real shame about that fish there. Did feel like a nice fish. I'm not talking monster, probably not even quite a double, but had a good hit to it, a good turn. It just got tangled up in some of the weeds and I didn't have a hook set on it and it just managed to free itself off the hook. So guys, to summarize titanium, it is ridiculously strong. Kink resistant, abrasion resistant, pike teeth resistant. The main downside is cost. It is fairly expensive. I mean, you can get it from pretty much any tackle shop probably, but it's not going to be cheap. And then there's probably only one question that still needs answering. Which do I prefer? Now, to be honest, I think they're situational. There are times when steel is going to be the best answer. In actual fact, I would say most of the time steel wire is going to be the best answer. However, there are some situations, some scenarios, some lures that just will not work on steel wire, and fluorocarbon is going to be your answer. I'm kind of hoping that titanium answers the issues with steel wire, but we'll see how we get on. I still need to use it. I still need some practice, and I'll see you in the next one.